All right, welcome into the show. Welcome into New York City. It's the last show from New York before the Super Bowl next week. Excited about Atlanta. And we got a big show from New York City for you right now. Kelvin Gastelum, the UFC fighter, will be on the program. Todd Fuhrman, going to help you make some money and a lot more beginning right now. Super Bowl 53 around the corner. We'll be in Atlanta next week, and as it should, that event will suck the oxygen out of the sports room, out of the sports world for an entire week. But there's some big events going on, especially this weekend, so we want to give them their due before we get, pulled into the Super Bowl gravitational force. And we'll start this weekend with a huge historical showdown at the Australian Open. Djokovic against Nadal. Let's start with the historical context of this final showdown for these two men. Yes, Roger Federer, the greatest tennis player of all time, but Rafa and Joker both have the chance to chase him down. You see it there. If Nadal can get the win, he's just 2 away from that mark that Federer has, and Federer's still trying to pad that number. If Djokovic can get the win, he cuts the number to 5. And interestingly, Djokovic said recently that it's Nadal who is his greatest rival in this golden era of men's singles in tennis. And you see that it's been a close match. It's been a close grudge match. Yes, Nadal better at 4-3, but it's very, very tight. And remember, Djokovic is younger, gives him more time to try to chase down the greatest tennis player of all time, Mark. Nadal older, some injuries, but as long as he can play on clay at the French Open, huge advantage. So it's a huge showdown. Those non-clay events for a Grand Slam, especially for Nadal, absolutely critical. I like Joker in this one, but Djokovic is my favorite tennis player of all time. Both these guys are great. It's true with Brady. It's true with LeBron and Michael. It's true in tennis. We're in an all-time great era. It plays itself out this weekend. Not the same historical context, but Raptors at Rockets tonight is a really, really good game. And Raptors 2.5-point favorites. I like Toronto in this game, even with the uncertainty of Kawhi Leonard, how many minutes he plays, the games that he sits out. Harden has been remarkable. I understand that. But that number of shots, he took 38 the other night. It has to wear him down at some point. I like Toronto, a great team, a great defense, to get that win, even giving up some points. That game, 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific time. Warriors at Celtics on Saturday. We don't have a line yet. I think Boston is actually going to be the most formidable team in the Eastern Conference come mid-April. I know nobody's beaten the Warriors, and I've seen the same numbers you have. That death lineup when Boogie's on the floor is utterly ridiculous, but Boston's got a chip on their shoulders. Kyrie's been playing better. They've been a different team since Kyrie took responsibility for what was his poor leadership. We don't have a line yet, but if it closes enough, I'm going to put my money on Boston. I think they'll see that as a statement game. Always a tough place to play. We got Sixers at Nuggets on Sunday. A great game. Don't be swayed by the firepower of Philly. That Nuggets team is the best home court team in the NBA, and I remember from covering in my NBA days, the altitude in Denver is significant. That is a Denver team that is legit, one of the few teams in the NBA in the top 5 in offensive and defensive rating. They get the win. I want to see the number, but I'm leaning toward putting my money on Denver, whatever it may be. There's a really good college basketball game this weekend, too. Kansas, number 9 team in the country, going up on Saturday tomorrow against Kentucky, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Little inside knowledge. And Cal and Self both respect each other, and both would deny saying this. We've had them both here on the show. They don't like each other in a rivalry sense. Both those guys constantly competing for the same recruits. That is a game that is critical to the recruits both those coaches are going after. They're going to play like it's a tournament game. I want to tell you that it's Kansas because I really like Bill Self and this team, this squad. It's probably Kentucky's game to win. And finally, Milwaukee, which might be quietly the best team in the country, people still aren't giving credit for outside of the Warriors, going down to play a really good Thunder team. Oklahoma City starting to win me over. That Sunday game at 6 o'clock Eastern, really interesting. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a star. Milwaukee has the best defense in the NBA. They have the, depending on the day, 5th or 6th best offense. But we've talked about Paul George here on the show and how great he's been the last 3 years, how great he's been in Oklahoma City. Really tough game. Again, don't have a line yet, but if it gets close enough, if the Bucks, or you get even 2 points on Milwaukee, I'm putting my money on Milwaukee. It's a coin flip game. I think Milwaukee wins that game. And I lived in Oklahoma City. It's not a shot, but you talk to guys around the National Basketball Association, and they'll tell you Oklahoma City, a lot sleepier city than a Miami or LA. Guys aren't going out. Guys aren't partying. There's not a lot of places to eat in Oklahoma City after an NBA game. People usually come in and are really focused to get there, get the win, and get out of town. And again, not a shot at Oklahoma City. I used to live there. It's a great place. Let's do this. Let's get to Kelvin Gastelum, the UFC fighter. Caught up with him earlier in the day in Brooklyn. Really good dude. We're going to get with him here in just a minute. All right, welcome back into New York City. Earlier in the day, had the chance to visit with Kelvin Gastelum. You'll see him next, UFC 234 in Australia. Really good dude, really interesting conversation. Here it is. All right, Kelvin, looks like you're somewhere warmer than I am. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, man, I'm out here in California, and I'm living life, man, living the dream.
All right, so as we just mentioned, you've got Robert Whittaker coming up, middleweight belt, UFC 234, around the corner, February 9th. How are you feeling? Where's your head at? Where's your headspace at getting ready for that fight?
Yeah, I'm just 100% focused right now, getting ready for this big fight, the biggest fight of my career. I mean, these are two young, hungry lions going at it. I don't know how long it's been since it's been two guys under 30 years old fighting for the middleweight title, so expect to see some fireworks for this fight because I'm bringing it. I know Rob's bringing it, and it'll be a good fight, guys.
You said it. Life is good. Your first title shot, as you let that sink in, how is training different? How is the day-to-day different, knowing that when you get in that octagon, what you're fighting for is the top of the mountain?
Right. Well, honestly, I've been around this environment for a long time. Been training for main events for a long time. I've been training for these type of environments for a long time. So having this big fight is it's just another day. It's just another fight, except this time they put a belt around me, and it just feels like any other fight that I've had. I've had some pretty big fights in my career, and this one just happens to be the one that I've been looking for, and I'm pretty confident in the training that I've had the last few months, pretty confident in my abilities that I'll be taking home the strap on February 9th.
Middleweight division is particularly stacked. I mean, there's a lot of impressive fighters. When you beat Jacare, what was your anticipation? What was your expectation about what was going to be next for you?
Boy, well, that was a hard fight. I just remember thinking, or being backstage, just thinking how hard of a fight that I just had. I was laughing it off. But that was one of the hardest fights that I've ever had against Jacare. And I knew that the winner of that fight should get the title shot, and sure enough, they gave it to me. And couldn't be happier with the results, man. I mean, this is what I've been training for my entire career. This is the big fight. You know what I mean? And this is the type of moments that I've been waiting for, and I'm gonna seize the opportunity and just make the most of it. Have fun doing it.
And the division all of you guys compete in is always out of the fire into the frying pan. Whittaker's won, I think 9 fights in a row. The last 2 have been remarkably gutsy. This is a very, very tough guy, which I know you're aware of. What do you need to do? What is key for you to get the outcome that you want?
You know what? I just need to go in there and be me. I feel like if I can be me and be the pressure fighter that I know I can be, then this fight's not even going to be close. I mean, in my last fight, I had one of my coaches telling me they wanted me to pull out of the fight just because I wasn't able to get proper training the last few weeks of that camp. I had an injury in my ankle, and I still went out there and won the fight. Now Rob's gonna have to deal with me 100% healthy, 100% in shape, and man, I'm just expecting an overwhelming fight for him. I expect to not even make it close.
You're going to be heading to his home turf, his home soil of Australia. I mean, so like the idea of being the spoiler, being the villain to the folks who are going to be there, rooting obviously for the hometown guy. How does that motivate you?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've had some pretty big fights already. I went to Brazil and fought Jacare in Rio. That's his hometown. I went to Long Island and fought Chris Reiter literally in his backyard, and I went to Fortaleza in Brazil and fought Vitor there as well. And so this is not the first time that I've been in this kind of position where I'm not the hometown guy, and I'm okay with it. You know, I've been the spoiler before.
All right, so when you get the win, when you're in Australia and you're the champion and it's your turn to decide, or at least hopefully have some influence, if Dana says to you, all right, man, where do you want to fight? Like, what's home turf for Kelvin? Where do you want the next fight to be?
Yeah, definitely Vegas. Vegas, man. It's close to Arizona where all my family is and all my friends are, so I'd like to be able to make it in Vegas.
You know, it's interesting. In everybody's career, in mine, people, whatever they do for a living, in yours, there are these turning points that maybe few people know about that have propelled people to where they are or who they are. What's something that maybe few know about you that shaped you as a fighter, that shaped your career, that's part of the reason you're sitting here talking with us?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I've been in the public eye for a little while, and my successes as well as my failures have been very public, and I think those are the things that have made me into who I am and pushed me into the kind of person that I am now. You know, my life has been pretty public ever since I was on the Ultimate Fighter about 7 years ago, and I've had some struggles along the way, you know, but I've overcame each and every single one of those struggles to get to where I am. I mean, I have fallen multiple times, but each time I got right back up on the horse, and now you see me here. You know, it's a testament of grinding and will, man. I mean, that's all it is. You know, it's getting back on your feet and trying all over again, man. Failure is part of the process, and unfortunately.
All right, your friend Henry Cejudo, who did not fail, shocked everybody with 32-second TKO of Dillashaw. I talked to Dillashaw on the radio the week before. So what were your feelings when it happened? And I want an unbiased perspective. Do you think maybe they stopped that fight a little early?
You know what? I do feel it was a little premature, for sure. But I felt like it would have been 5-10 more seconds of the same. You know what I mean? So maybe it was exactly at the right time. I felt like Henry just would have continued what he was doing. You know, Dillashaw was holding on to a single leg while he was getting smashed with hammer fist in his face on an Olympic wrestler. He was never going to get that takedown.
All right, so let's do a couple predictions for you. Let's start with the other co-main event. Who do you think atop the card with you guys in the other fight is going to come out on top?
That's an interesting fight, man. I'm actually really excited to watch that. I just think they're going to go in there. They're going to play into each other's styles. You know, Stylebender and Anderson Silva have some of the most elusive striking that has ever been seen inside the octagon. So it's going to be pretty amazing to watch. And you never know. I mean, the old man Anderson can pull something off. I mean, he's a legend for a reason, and I think he pulled something off under his sleeve there.
We got an old guy in the Super Bowl. Why not an old guy at UFC 234, right? Getting it done.
That's right. That's right. And there's title implications in that fight for him, too. You know, he wins that fight, he gets the title.
Yeah,
fight.
no doubt.
And, you know, the next champion of this division has got his work cut out for him. I mean, there's a passing of the torch going on right now in this division where you see young guys coming up like Stylebender, like Paulo Bohatinha, who's just a monster. You know, you got Rob, who's already the champ, and you got myself. And there's, you know, the champion's got his work cut out for him. That's for sure in the next few fights.
All right, last question for you real quick. I think I know who you're going to take, but give us some details. What is your prediction for your fight?
I expect it. Man, I'm expecting a first-round knockout. I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. But at the same time, I'm ready for a 5-round war. And it's going to be fun, man. I'm going to have fun doing it. I know Rob is coming to bring it. I'm going to be bringing it. And, I mean, I just want to go in there and not even make it close. A la Henry Cejudo.
All right, Kelvin. I love it. Kelvin, appreciate the time, man. Good luck in Australia.
Take care, guys.
All right, good dude. I like the interviews in the car. I think it's cool. Also cool, Fuhrman Fridays. Todd Fuhrman trying to make you and me some money. Happens, mere moments. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back into New York City and Writer's Block. I'm Bill Reiter. Thanks for being here. Todd Fuhrman is the man. It's Todd Fuhrman Fridays. I caught up with Todd earlier. Here's our conversation. All right, Todd Fuhrman. I love having you on. Weekly spot. James Harden on everybody's brain. The guy is on fire. And for most people, casual fans, they assume Harden is the lock for the MVP. I talked to a couple guys who actually have votes yesterday who said it's still a race. When you look at this prop bet, NBA MVP, do you see some value somewhere?
I actually do, Bill. Given the hot streak that James Harden has been on, I actually think Giannis now is the guy that offers all the value. Given the fact that this Rockets team is still middle of the pack in the Western Conference, eventually Chris Paul is going to come back. Clint Capella returned from the thumb injury that's kept him sidelined for about a week now in a month. And you have to wonder if the volume of shots are still going to be there for Harden. And if he's not scoring 35 to 40 a night at minimum, the Rockets finish on the road, needing to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs, and the Bucks finish 1 or 2 in the East, I think you could see Giannis sneaking in there. And given the way his price has moved, he's the guy that I'd want to put a bet on now, more so than James Harden.
This is great, too. I used to vote for this award. Now I don't. So it feels like very safe territory if I feel like, and I do, fading Harden in an aggressive way. The Eastern Conference, a lot more crowded than the MVP race. There's a lot of interesting teams here, even with the Oladipo injury. What do you see there? Maybe some numbers that you like for who will ultimately come out of the Eastern Conference.
Well, it's crazy because I think right now, as we've seen the Warriors, they've really distanced themselves from the field, not only in the West, but the entire NBA. So the only drama is who is going to pick up the silver medal, so to speak, and bow down so gracefully to Golden State in the finals. And while the Boston Celtics haven't played up to their potential, I like what I've seen from them lately. Kyrie admitting to LeBron that, hey, it's tough to be a leader. But as a result, I think the Celtics have kind of established that pecking order. This is Kyrie's team. We're going to see Jason Tatum fill in his secondary role. I think Gordon Hayward only gets healthier. You saw Jaylen Brown with a big game off the bench the other night. And one of the more underrated players as far as adding toughness came back about 4 or 5 games ago in Aaron Baines. I love the depth that Coach Stevens has. He's going to have to work through a rotation because you don't have to go 10 deep in the playoffs. And for me, they remain the single best value on the board. And I think we're going to see them at their absolute best trying to defend home court Saturday night against the Warriors.
I love that. I have been singing that song on the national radio show for about a month now. And it's so nice, Todd, when we're on the same page, because that usually means that I'm finally right. I'm finally right. All right, so moving to some Super Bowl. I'm heading to Atlanta in a few days. The whole sports world's going to descend. The line has moved a lot. How should we interpret that movement?
Well, I'm a little blown away by how much the line has moved. Not so much that the Patriots are favorites now, given recency bias plays such a huge role in shaping that Super Bowl line with all the hype, the pageantry, the cachet. And when we look at the way this number opened with the Rams a 1-point favorite, I think a lot of people were, left with a bad taste in their mouth given how they got to this point in the season where all of a sudden a team that nobody wanted to bet on at home against the Chargers, nobody wanted to bet on them on the road at Arrowhead, all of a sudden they're the public darlings again as Tom Brady looks for his 6th Super Bowl. But how quickly we forget the inexperience factor that people are singing from the mountaintops. Doug Peterson didn't have experience as a head coach last year, nor did Nick Foles on the biggest stage. A couple of years ago, Matt Ryan and Dan Quinn, they had no experience and they built a 28-3 lead. I think Sean McVay and Jared Goff are being undersold in this spot. But if you like the Rams, patience is a virtue here. Wait this game out. I really think you're going to see 3 in the market. But right now, the best bet I believe you can make is going under in the first half at 28. The Patriots have scored a grand total, and I had to double check this stat because I found it so hard to believe, 3 points in the 8 previous trips that they've made to the Super Bowl in the first quarter. Whether that's by design, it's nerves, it's rust. The Patriots don't go out there and light the world on fire. I think we see a lower scoring game in the first half than what we were treated to last year between the Pats and Eagles.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm going to put money on the game, but my, it's a gambling paradox for me. I don't like betting against the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and I don't like going with the public in the Super Bowl. So I will have to make a choice. I don't want to get prop bet crazy, but I want to find a prop bet, maybe just one and get aggressive with that bet. In the long list of prop bets that are everywhere, is there one, Todd, that's caught your eye?
Well, I think the one that jumps off the page to me, and now a lot can change between now and kickoff on Sunday, is the over-under on Todd Gurley's rushing yards at 68.5. We saw him not play a role whatsoever in the game against the Saints, yet he was out there for a key drive late in that contest, but more as a decoy than an actual threat, either catching the ball out of the backfield or running between the tackles. So I still believe that Gurley isn't anywhere close to 100%. And if he's ineffective, McVay has shown no reluctance to go to C.J. Anderson. Again, we said he took him right off of the bread line, gave him a uniform, and C.J. has been the saving grace in the backfield. His over-under for rush attempts sits at 10.5. I think there's a high correlation that C.J. goes over and Gurley goes under on his rushing yards.
Todd Fuhrman, as always, buddy, love having you on the show on Friday. See you next week and appreciate you, man.
Always a pleasure, and safe travels to Atlanta, my friend.
Fuhrman's a good dude. Remember to check out his podcast, the Bet the Board podcast. Really appreciate his time. Super Bowl is almost a week away. We've got you covered here on CBS. Remember, not just Super Bowl 53 on CBS, it's also streaming on CBSSports.com, on the app on your phone, CBS Sports app. Check it out. We've got so many things planned between now and when you can watch the big game on CBSSports.com. We have a whole crew out there from CBS Sports HQ. We will be live for Media Day. Every weekday next week, Cannell and Bell will be live from the Super Bowl. Sportsline is out there. HQ is there all day long, fronted by talents like Chris Hassel, Hakeem Dermish, leading the way with our full NFL crew. Pete Prisco, Mr. Brinson, JLC, Brady Quinn. In fact, speaking of those guys, the Pick Six podcast will be live noon each day. And remember, I'll be out there too, so check a little Writer's Block live from Radio Row in Atlanta. Really excited. Every turn, every bit of news, every bit of an analysis, what you need to know if you're putting some money down, we got you covered. Have a great weekend. I'm Bill Reiter. This is Writer's Block, and we'll see you next week live from Atlanta, Georgia.